Hey everyone, I wanted to quickly go over the Slinky setup because I will be doing a webinar this Friday at noon. That's an unusual time for me. Usually I don't do them during the day, but I thought I would give it a shot. I had some requests for a daytime webinar. So this Friday at 12 I'll be doing a webinar on the Slinky setups, the counter channel setups, and also how you can trail your stop. If you're interested, you can go to easyemoneytrade.com and click on the webinar tab, and all the information is there. But for now, let me show you the Slinky on the NQ, the Russell, the ES, and the YM. So I'll start with the NQ, and there's no magic chart to use. I'm using a 633 tick chart. I always use odd numbers. You can use fib numbers. You can use just a plain old 600 or 612. And once you come to the webinar on Friday, I'll give you all the details on the settings and so forth for the indicators. And, I would just urge you to test different instruments on different size charts. What you're looking for is a chart that's big enough to where it eliminates a lot of the noise, but small enough to where you'll be having some entries on it, but not too small where you're just whipping back and forth above and below our indicator here. So in Sierra, I'm able to color my bars based on an indicator. So I'm basing the color of the bars being above or below the super trend dots here. So here at 9:37, you can see we get a close above the dots, and you put a buy stop in above this bar, and away you go. If you don't trade that early, then obviously you would be waiting for the next setup. And I always use the bar that gets me in for this particular setup. I always use the bar that gets me in just under it for my stop. So the buy would be a tick above this bar, and the stop would, initial stop anyway, would be a tick below this bar. And then you would determine what kind of targets you want to use, and then obviously you could trail that all the way up depending on how you managed it. Same thing here. We get closed below our indicator here, and sell stop goes in under this bar, and away you go. Closed above. It's a really simple setup, and like I said, I'll go over the settings on Friday. Here you get closed above, triggers, away you go. Here you get closed below, and I always want to be triggered on the very next bar. So putting a sell stop, if you were taking this under this bar that I have marked at about 320 something, the next bar never triggered your entry. So for me, that would be a cancel. Here, this triggers, it sets up for a buy, but it never triggers on the next bar, meaning you've got your buy stop above this bar here. The next bar never trades to it. And then I'll give you a couple of my rules for my stops as well on Friday. This closes below, and obviously this is close to 4 o'clock. Not sure that somebody would be interested in it that late in the day, but closes below and it works out just fine. I do use bigger targets when trading off the bigger chart. Here, let's do the YM, and I don't trade the YM, so I'd urge you to test it on different tick frames. Here it sets up at 9:46. Away you go. Pretty much everything took off at that same time, and depending on what your plan calls for around news, you may or may not have taken that. Here, get closed below our indicator, put your sell order in a tick under this bar, triggers, takes a little while, you have to sit through a little heat, but it does work out. Here, same thing, buy here above this bar, takes off, close below this bar, close below the dots here, sell order in under this bar, and away you go. I always use buy stops and sell stops so I can get my order filled at the specific entry price. Here you get closed above, you can see, but it never triggers on any of these bars. And let's look at the ES. The ES I've got on my screen here, 1,000 tick chart. Again, play with the numbers and see what works best for the instrument that you're interested in. I don't like the ES, so this is just me throwing out a number on the chart here. So let's start out. First thing this morning, where are we here? There we go. So here, pretty early. You get closed above the dots, but it never triggers your order on the next bar, so you cancel. Here, closes below, never triggers your order on the next bar, so you cancel. Here, closes above, and believe it or not, that does not trigger either. Here you close below, that does trigger. You close above, and I'm looking at the super trend dots here. And close above, away you go. Close below, you don't get a whole lot out of it. Here, 130, close above. Here, close below. This one here would have not got you a whole lot and eventually would have stopped you out. But chances are, if you got in this at 3:04 this afternoon, and after sitting there for 15 minutes of it going nowhere, you probably got out with a little something or break even. You probably didn't sit there waiting for your stop to get hit. And then this last one here is just before 3:45. It's actually 3:41, and it triggers. And again, not sure how much you got out of it, but. And then last but not least is the Russell, and I like the 577 tick chart on that. And you can use smaller and get away with it on the Russell. The thing about the Russell on the bigger chart is you have to be willing to take the stop. And sometimes these bars can be a little bit large on the Russell, so you'd be risking more, but obviously you also stand to make more. So here, 944, huge move higher there. 932, 958, excuse me, 1058, doesn't do a whole heck of a lot here at 1058. And then here you get closed below on this bar, but it never triggers you. Here you get closed above, away you go. Here at 1141 you get closed below and it doesn't really go anywhere. So depending on how long you were willing to wait on that, chances are you either took a little something or you got stopped out. And on the Russell, because it tends to go a little more sideways in the afternoon, you might opt to pass on these in the afternoon. I'm not saying the Russell can't move in the PM session, but pretty often it does kind of not have a large range that it's trading within. Now with that said, if you have a quiet morning, you might get some movement in the afternoon if you were just ranging sideways in the morning. So I hope that helps, and if you want more info on the webinar, go to my site, easyeMiniTrade.com, and click on the webinar tab, and all the info is there. Take care, you guys.